Welcome to Early Years Weekly. No. Welcome to Early Years Weekly. That was way too smiley. Welcome to Early Years Weekly. So I've kind of brought together the big news of last week, and I'll go through a few of the big stories. So if we start with Nick Gibb taking on responsibility for the early years. So he is now taking on extra responsibility. Obviously at the moment, Minister of State for School Standards will now be kind of overseeing funding, support for the early years workforce, curriculum, and responsibility for physical education and school sport, as well as the pupil premium. So he's going to be a busy man. So the next story I thought to highlight is the early years practitioners doing more paperwork than necessary. Now, Early Years Alliance's Mind Matters research looked into this and found that practitioners and their paperwork and administration, it's a huge source of stress for this workforce. They're getting really caught up in all the paperwork that they're thinking is necessary. It also highlighted that the paperwork expectations, when talking to practitioners that have experienced more than one Ofsted inspection, they stated that it was really inconsistent, and what was expected from one inspection to another was completely different. So in other news, I was reading about the academic study into gender imbalance in the early years. Now, the NDNA is supporting the Gender Eye project at Lancaster University in partnership with the Fatherhood Institute, and to look at this gender imbalance in more detail. Now, currently in the UK, it's estimated that only 3%, and that by the Department of Education, of the early years workforce is male. Now, for me, that's such a shame for so many reasons. Of course, there is so much talent out there. The degree I studied in education, there were some really incredibly passionate males that were so talented, and to know that for some reason there's something stopping them enter into the early years sector is such a shame. It's also vital given the current recruitment crisis. Now, with most nurseries struggling to recruit qualified staff, and many obviously leaving for better paid jobs elsewhere, as we mentioned last week with the teachers' salaries upping, especially. It's so important that we work out why males are deterred from entering this sector, and really try and improve that. When looking into this a little bit more, I also read a piece by Nursery World regarding parents reporting that they're really uncomfortable with male practitioners changing their children's nappies. Now, Men in the Early Years campaign group, Mighty, the project lead Jeremy Davies highlighted that there has to be, we have to put a stop to this, basically. It's totally impractical in terms, from a workload point of view, and it's also a really bad message to give to parents, staff and children, of course, that men should be treated as these second-class caregivers. It's totally unfair. And if we do want to attract, more passionate workers to the early years sector, these issues must be addressed. If you yourself, or you're aware of someone else that's experienced this, however, of course, awkward the situation, the advice is to kind of confidently highlight the policies and procedures you have placed in your nursery regarding the safeguarding of children, and also just be clear that parents cannot pick and choose who undertakes different activities based on their gender. So the last thing, on a slightly lighter note, in our new Facebook group, Always Learning, the Early Years Community, Sue Asquith shared a really, really nice post about 50 things to do before you're 5. Now, it's essentially about building cultural capital that I mentioned earlier, and also increasing parental engagement. It's basically ideas for activities, and it's quite location based. So why not have a look at whether there's one in your local area and get some inspiration on 50 things to do before the children turn 5. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to subscribe so that you get notifications for the upcoming videos. We'll try and do these once a week. So yeah, thank you and see you soon.